She rescued him from a nightmare as a child, but never imagined the man at her door years later was the boy she once saved. Rain tapped against the windows of the small, aging house nestled at the edge of Willow Creek. It was the kind of night that made the world feel smaller, quieter. Inside, Lorraine closed her book and walked to the kitchen, pausing to glance at the front door, a habit she hadn't shaken in years. Something about rainy nights always brought memories flooding back. She had been just 22 when she found him. A little boy, no more than 6, crouched behind a dumpster near the old grocery store she used to work at. He was shivering, soaked to the bone, with a bruise blooming across his cheek and eyes that screamed a pain too old for his age. She had called for help, of course, the proper authorities. But when no one came fast enough, she made a choice that changed both their lives. She took him home. His name was Eli. He didn't speak for the first 3 days, just watched her from the corner of the room, hands always clenched, body always tense. But Lorraine didn't push. She gave him warm meals, clean clothes, and a soft bed with cartoon sheets she borrowed from her cousin. Eventually, he began to talk. Quietly, cautiously. He told her bits and pieces. A father who drank too much. A mother who disappeared one night and never came back. Long days without food. Nights hiding from fists and slurs. Lorraine had grown up in a rough neighborhood herself. She knew the signs, the silence, the way fear could make a child disappear in plain sight. But Eli wasn't invisible anymore. Not to her. When social services finally came, they found a stable, warm home. Lorraine had gotten licensed as a foster caregiver by then, against every odd. And when asked if she wanted to keep the boy in her care, she said yes, without hesitation. For 3 years, Eli stayed. He laughed again, went to school, called her Miss Lorraine at first, then just Rain, because he said her hugs made stormy days feel safe. And then, one morning, he was gone, adopted by a family out of state. She had no say in the matter, just a note from the agency and a small drawing Eli had left behind, of her, him, and a big house with flowers. She kept that picture in her kitchen drawer. For 16 years. So when the doorbell rang on that rainy night, she never expected anything except maybe a neighbor needing help with a leaky pipe. But when she opened it, she froze. A tall man stood there, water dripping from his coat, a soft smile on his face, and in his hand, that same drawing. Lorraine's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes flicked from the drawing to his face. Those eyes, the same wide, guarded eyes she had once seen peeking from behind a trash bin. But now they were older, stronger, and filled with something she couldn't name. He stepped forward slowly, as if afraid she might shut the door. "I didn't know if you still lived here," he said quietly. "I've been looking for you for years." Her hands trembled. "Eli?" she whispered. A flash of emotion crossed his face. He gave a small nod. "It's me. You saved me." She couldn't hold back the tears. They fell freely as she reached out and touched his arm, as if needing to feel he was real. "You disappeared. I didn't even get to say goodbye." "I didn't want to leave," he said, voice thick with emotion. "I begged them to let me stay, but they said it wasn't up to me. Or you." Lorraine pulled him inside and hugged him, tighter than she'd hugged anyone in years. They sat at her small kitchen table, steam rising from the mugs of tea she quickly made. The same table where a little boy once learned how to tie his shoes. Eli looked around. "It's all the same." "I couldn't bring myself to change much," she admitted with a smile. "Too many memories." "I have some of those too," he said, reaching into his coat pocket. He pulled out a worn photo of the two of them on his 7th birthday. Him smiling with missing teeth, her holding a lopsided cake. "I carried this everywhere, even in college," he said. "I don't think I'd be alive without you." She reached across the table and held his hand. "You were the brave one, Eli. I just gave you a roof." "No, Rain," he said, voice shaking. "You gave me a chance to believe people could care, that I was worth saving." She blinked back tears. "So, what brought you back?" "I promised myself, if I ever made it, I'd find you." Lorraine tilted her head. "Made it?" He smiled, almost sheepishly. "I started a foundation, for kids like me. We've helped hundreds of foster kids find safe homes and better futures. And last year, Forbes called me the youngest African-American philanthropist of the decade." Her eyes widened. "I bought this entire block," he added. "Was planning to tear it down and build a youth center. But when I saw this house was still standing, I paused. Something told me you might still be here." She shook her head, stunned. "You really did make it. I came to ask for your blessing. I want to name the center after you." Lorraine laughed through tears. "That's too much." "No," he said gently. "It's not enough." He reached into his coat one last time and placed a key on the table. "Also, I bought you a new house, on a quiet street with a garden. You've given enough. It's time someone gave to you." Her hand flew to her mouth. "Eli, I'll never forget what you did," he said. "And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no kid ever feels forgotten again." Lorraine stood in the middle of her new living room, surrounded by fresh paint, gleaming floors, and the sweet scent of possibility. The sun poured through the windows, bathing everything in a golden glow. For the first time in years, she felt something settle inside her. Peace. Outside, a sleek black car waited, ready to take her to the grand opening of the Elijah Carter Youth Center. Her name was carved in brass on a special plaque inside, something Eli insisted on. The media was already buzzing about the man behind the mission, but Lorraine knew the real story was much deeper than the headlines. As they pulled up to the center, she gasped. It was beautiful, warm, welcoming, alive with color and laughter. Kids ran in the courtyard, volunteers guided tours, and at the heart of it all, Eli stood in a sharp navy suit, surrounded by reporters, but his eyes searched until they landed on her. He broke away from the cameras and walked to her. "You ready?" She nodded. "Are you?" He grinned. "Not even a little. But if you stand beside me, I'll be fine." She looped her arm through his. "Always." They walked in together. The event was filled with powerful speeches, tearful testimonials, and awe at what the center would provide. Counseling rooms, study halls, music spaces, dorms for emergencies. But when Eli took the stage, the room fell silent. He looked out at the crowd, then at Lorraine. "When I was 6, I hid behind a dumpster to escape someone who hurt me. And then I met someone who saw me, not just the dirt or the fear, but me." Lorraine didn't ask questions. She gave me food, a place to sleep, and a voice. He paused, his throat tight. "She taught me how to tie my shoes, to read bedtime stories, to believe I mattered. Without her, there would be no me." Lorraine's heart swelled as tears streamed down her cheeks. "So this building, this mission, this future, it belongs to her." Thunderous applause followed. Lorraine remained seated, her hands trembling. It was overwhelming. Later that evening, as the crowd cleared, Eli found her in the garden, where tiny lights sparkled among the trees. "You okay?" he asked. She smiled. "I still feel like I'm dreaming." He knelt beside her bench. "Then let's never wake up." She touched his cheek. "You've made me proud, Eli. More than you'll ever know." "No," he said, voice thick. "You saved me. Now it's my turn to save others." As the stars blinked into the sky above the youth center that bore her name, Lorraine realized something. The kindness we give can ripple for generations. And sometimes, when you least expect it, that kindness comes back. Grown, powerful, and ready to change the world. Eli's youth center had been running for 3 months now. And in that short time, it had already changed hundreds of lives. Kids who had once lived on the streets were now learning music, engineering, and entrepreneurship. Counselors offered healing. Volunteers built trust. And at the center of it all was Lorraine. She wasn't just a face on a plaque. She was there every day, helping, listening, guiding. The kids called her Mama Lo. She always had snacks in her bag, a warm scarf to lend, or a story to distract a child from their pain. One evening, after closing hours, a teenage boy stood hesitantly at the door. His hoodie was torn. His lip was swollen. He wouldn't look anyone in the eye. Lorraine approached quietly. "You hungry?" He nodded. She handed him a sandwich and sat down beside him on the bench. "My name's Lorraine." He whispered, "Jaden." "You safe now, Jaden. Whatever happened before, this is a new start." He finally met her gaze, and for the first time, his shoulders relaxed. It reminded her so much of a young Elijah. Broken, scared, hopeful. And just like she had back then, she offered Jaden a blanket and a place to rest. No questions asked. When she turned around, Eli stood in the doorway, watching. "She's doing it again," he said to himself, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Doing what?" asked one of the counselors. "Building legacies out of broken hearts." By year's end, a national magazine featured the center. Donations poured in. Other cities called, asking to replicate the model. But Eli had one condition. Each one must have a Lorraine. People needed more than buildings. They needed love, patience, and someone who saw them. One day, as Lorraine was cleaning up after an art class, Eli came to her with a small box. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." Inside was a delicate gold necklace. On it, a charm read, "To the one who started it all." She looked up at him, overwhelmed. "I love you, Lorraine, and I want the world to know what one woman's kindness can do." She clasped the necklace, her hands trembling. "You already showed them, Eli. I just lit the spark. You built the fire." They stood in silence, the air between them full of emotion too big for words. And in that moment, 2 souls, one who gave and one who grew, knew they had rewritten not only each other's lives, but the lives of countless others. Because love doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in a sandwich, a borrowed blanket, or the quiet strength of a woman who refused to walk away.